Yo, what's up you guys? Skynet here, and we are back with another Dokkan vid, and today the biggest question on a lot of people's minds is now that we've gotten Super Saiyan 3 Goku, now that we've gotten Majin Buu for Part 1 of Golden Week, what is going to be our Part 2 LR? For those who don't know what the hell I'm talking about, let me just explain real quick. So, if we go back to the 7th year, right, 2 years ago, when we look at the Golden Week celebration for that kind of thing, right, we started off with a Super Saiyan Goku and a Transforming Cell, right, two Dokkan Fests with their respective banner units, right? And then for part 2, just a couple weeks later actually, we got an LR, right? So we got a summonable yellow coin LR with the Tech Super Saiyan Goku and Super Saiyan Gohan. That was kind of the thing they did for the 7th year kind of timeline for Dokkan, right? And then if we look actually at the 8th year for Dokkan, right? So last year's Golden Week celebration, instead of the whole Cell Saga theme, right? They did a Dragon Ball theme. So this was whole 23rd World Tournament kind of thing. They did Goku and Piccolo Jr. for the main dual Dokkan Fest units, and of course their banner units, right? And then for part 2, they decided to keep it in the same kind of theme as Dragon Ball, right? With the 23rd World Tournament, and they gave us an LR Bulma. And same thing like the Tech Super Saiyan Goku and Gohan, right? Bulma here is a 150% lead, just a yellow coin summonable LR, no Carnival LR, nothing like that, right? So this is what they've done in the past few years, right? But now we are still waiting for our part 2 announcements for this year's Golden Week celebration. So we're kind of all left in this kind of position of speculating what we can get for our part 2 of Golden Week celebration, right? Obviously, again, this whole celebration has been focused thematically around Majin Buu Saga. And as you see right here, actually, as I'm pulling up this category, right? We got Super Saiyan 3 Goku and the Int Majin Buu, right? So both of them were the dual Dokkan Fest units, right? They gave us some side banner units too, right? Like the Tech Evil Buu here. They gave us the physical Gotenks, and we actually have gotten quite a few EZAs as a part of this whole kind of celebration, right? So obviously, for Global specifically, you guys, as a part of the celebration, you guys got the EZAs for Super Vegito and Buu tanks, right? JP, we already got those EZAs, but Global, now you're caught up with us on that sort of thing there. And then aside from that, we already did get the EZA for any Gotenks, and the Super EZAs were already out on JP. I don't think the Super EZA for Tech Gotenks was out for Global at the time, but obviously both of these Super EZAs took place with the Goku and the Gotenks right here. And then also aside from that, the most recent EZAs have been the Tech Majin Buu and the Tech Ultimate Gohan here. So Tech Majin Buu's EZA just was out like maybe 2 to 3 days ago at this point already. Tech Gohan's, his has already been announced actually, so you see his is going to take place on the 8th of May. It's going to be basically in 3 days or so from now. But it's only been announced, right? We know the details, we just haven't had a chance to experience it. So I will say I am excited for that, but I just want to basically give you guys an understanding in case you have been missing Golden Week celebration in terms of where we have been at so far and what we've gotten, right? So now that we kind of already established what we've gotten, the question is, what are we gonna get? What can we get? Because we've gotten a Goku, right? We got the Super Saiyan 3 Goku, iconic, right, in Majin Buu Saga. We got Majin Buu himself, that's iconic. Global, you got the EZAs for Vegito, and you got the EZAs for Buu tanks as well. We got the Tech, not corrupted Buu, but Tech Majin Buu, who kind of exchanges into Evil Buu and then into Super Buu. Tech Gohan's getting his EZA. Where can they go forward, right? And I do have a couple ideas. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't come up with at least several ideas for what they can do. But I think the first idea, which is the most likely thing to happen, it's got to be an LR Kid Buu, right? I think everyone is already kind of aware that this is like the prime time opportunity for Kid Buu to come out and take his position as an LR finally. Like, it's been at this point, like how much, like 9 to 10 years of Dokkan just being out, and we have yet to get an LR Kid Buu. And it is a bit of a travesty if you're talking about being in the Dokkan community. Like, everyone in the community knows that Kid Buu is a unit that deserves an LR, and the fact that we haven't gotten one is insane at this point. So now that we're already enjoying Majin Buu Saga as like a theme, right? Now that we've already gotten the dual Dokkan Fest for part 1s and all this stuff and all these EZAs, it feels like the biggest unit that they can pull out from their bag to kind of make as a Part 2 LR, it has to be Buu, right? And that's who I'm going to be saying is like my pick for the Part 2 LR in terms of A, who I would want, and B, who I would expect to be Part 2 LR. Because when we're talking about marketing a game, right? When we're talking about marketing a summon or a banner or something like that, right? Or marketing even a celebration like Golden Week, already they've done a good job, just starting off with part 1, right? Because part 1, you have an epic moment, right, between the Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Majin Buu, right? This is supposed to encapsulate Goku first transforming into the Super Saiyan 3 for the first time in the story, and obviously they did showcase that as best they could with the intros and everything and the animations, and they've done a good job so far. And now part 2, if you're talking about how they can sell us on part 2, the best way to do that is to finally give us what we've all been waiting for, which is an LR Kid Buu. And, you know, this is the latest Buu that we've gotten, right? And that was back for JP, right? That was basically at the beginning of 2022 almost, so right before the 7th year anniversary. So it has been, I think, like basically 2.5 years since we've gotten a Kid Buu, so I think it is time for us to get that. But, of course, again, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't have some ideas for you guys, right? So let me get into, I guess, the other theory crafting kind of options here, right? So we did talk about Kid Buu. Again, that's my expectation. But another one I will say, and I want to bring him up just because I feel like I should bring him up because I was thinking of how much he could benefit us, right? The other idea I had, one of several ideas I had rather, was an LR Ultimate Gohan. Now, the thing is, that idea really was kind of sitting in my head before this Gohan's EZA was announced. So once they announced his EZA, then things kind of changed for me in that perspective. Like, I knew that Ultimate Gohan could be an LR. Like, you could market Gohan. I mean, they've certainly done so, right? 9th anniversary of Beast Gohan and things of that nature. So you could definitely market Ultimate Gohan as a Part 2 LR. But once they announced this EZA, my kind of expectation or my confidence that this was going to happen really just went down the drain. Because, like, yes, they could do an LR Ultimate Gohan. They can absolutely do that, even though we're getting an EZA for this one. But really, why would you do that? I feel like it doesn't make sense at this point. I think it would be better for them to save it for some other time now that we got this EZA coming. So that's just what I want to say about Gohan. Maybe they will do it. You know, I could be wrong. Maybe they decide to troll us and decide not to give us Kid Buu. Maybe they'll do an Ultimate Gohan, but who knows, right? We have to see what Dokkan has to offer, right? These are just ideas at this point in terms of what I expect are, the most likely candidates to become LRs, and then also, you know, just candidates that I think are great options for them as well, right? So that's how I would look at it. Aside from that, though, now we get into, I guess, a bit more of the kind of wild options, right? So the third idea that came to mind, this is in no particular order in terms of who I would want, right? But the third one that came to mind when I was thinking of these options was an LR Great Saiyaman, either just a Great Saiyaman 1 or a Great Saiyaman 1 and 2. Either way, I was just thinking of an LR Great Saiyaman. And to be honest, this was a weird idea because, like, it seemed logical, but also at the same time, it seemed like an idea that was just too little too late. And let me explain what I mean, right? So, since the beginning of April this year, right? So basically a month ago, we started off that month with a Dokkan Festival Topo. And he was just he was leading tournament participants, but he was really the start of the special pose kind of renaissance, right? Where special pose units were getting boosted up the yin-yang, just becoming a really relevant category in a sense. Not necessarily cracked, but just having a lot of good units that could work together and just make it a decent to actually good category, right? So again, Dokkan Fest Topo starting that kind of train, and then from there, you know, we got EZAs for like Int Gotenks and for Rebrand, excuse me, and then we also had like EZAs for Topo and all these other units. And looking at all those different options, it was already kind of crazy. And then they kind of capped it off with an LR Ginyu. And that was one of those things where it's like, okay, the special pose category, they've touched on it. They've definitely cooked a lot with that category. And now they moved on to Majin Buu Saga, right? Well, the thing is, Great Saiyaman, either Great Saiyaman 1 or Great Saiyaman 1 and 2, right? However you design the Great Saiyaman units, they usually fit into Special Pose and Defender of Justice. That's just how they're designed. That's just how their characters were made, right? So if we're talking about an LR that could be kind of interesting, this will be one of them, because this is a unit where we could get an LR Great Saiyaman who not only fits Majin Buu Saga and the theme around it, but also is a nice kind of option to further tie an extra knot or an extra bow onto the Special Pose category and the Defender of Justice category, make them both a lot better, and just kind of, I don't know, be like I was going to make it like a joke, like the Avatar, right? Where it's like the bridge between two worlds, but really it is just kind of a way to kind of combine the roads of Majin Buu Saga and Special Pose and Defender of Justice and that sort of thing, right? So that's kind of where the idea came for this Great Saiyaman. Aside from that, you know, the reason why it really came to mind is because a couple things. One is this is the LR we have, right? I've been showing this LR for like the past 2 to 3 minutes. And that LR is the only LR Great Saiyaman as you see here from Majin Buu Saga, right? And to get this unit, all you have to do is you have to go to the friend summon. You just go to the friend summon, you use your friend points, right? When you use friends and you go through events, right? You go through the friend summon, you pull this copies at the SSR level, you just boost them, whatever. Or I think it's the SR actually. But you pull them, you awaken them, and bam, there you go. Just a kind of basically a free LR. And maybe they choose not to do this EZA. I think realistically this is probably the least marketable of the ideas that came to mind for me. But if they did this, I could see them justifying that as also a segue to doing an EZA for STR Videl. And that's really why I was thinking, man, maybe they could do this, because in my head I'm thinking, who needs EZAs in this category, right? So Videl is one for sure, and I think the other two big items that we were just missing that people are like, how come we haven't gotten them, right, is the Super Saiyan 2 Goku and Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta. At this point, I do think these two are going to be New Year's kind of EZAs, right? So we won't see them for another kind of 5 to 7 months, I think, right? But Videl, I don't think is in that same kind of caliber. I don't think she kind of falls into that same kind of train of thought. And so with Videl, for me, the way to make her EZA possible is to justify her by adding in a new unit that kind of fits into her mold, right? So with Great Saiyaman, they fit into Defender of Justice. Videl leads Defender of Justice. That is kind of a great option there. And also, you're talking about Majin Buu Saga. There's some kind of ways to kind of connect the two, connect the dots, kind of make things happen there. So that is kind of one kind of idea I have that could be an option. I think it's, again, the least marketable and by extension, the least likely to happen. But hey, when we're trying to speculate about what can happen, we have to consider all of our options really as best as we can, right? Which, to be fair, means I guess we could argue that there could be like an LR Supreme Kai, but also let's be fair, right? Like Supreme Kai LR, please. Like, no disrespect to Supreme Kai fans, but he was not like that in Majin Buu Saga. I don't think he's ever going to get an LR in Majin Buu Saga unless it's like Supreme Kai and the rest of the Kais all together. So that's just what I will say there. But that's the third kind of idea that came to mind, right? The fourth one that kind of piqued my interest was a Super Buu. And let me explain what I'm talking about, right? With Tekkon's EZA coming, that kind of debunked my idea of us getting an LR Ultimate Gohan. But also, it meant that in my mind, I was thinking, what would fit perfect to counter Gohan? It would be a Super Buu, because literally that's when the moment happened. Ultimate Gohan came to fight Super Buu, right? And everyone knows like the iconicness of the stare down and stuff, and the line that Gohan said, which I'm not going to repeat because I don't know if I'm allowed to on YouTube, but everyone kind of knows what I'm talking about, right? So that's where I was thinking, man, I guess they could justify doing it from a thematic standpoint. But the reason why I also pumped the brakes on that one, and you can see why I'm looking at right now, the reason why was because we already got the EZA for Bootanks, right? Or at least global, you just got the EZA. JP, we've had it for a short bit of time, right? At least 2 months or so. But global, you just got this EZA, so this is one kind of Bootanks or like kind of Super Buu where it is kind of related slightly to Super Vegito, but also slightly towards the Ultimate Gohan, right? So that's just kind of how I was looking at that. But also, we did get an LR Super Buu already. And this was the Super Buu I'm talking about, right? So this actually is just a bit over a year old. This came out right before Golden Week celebration last year. So talking about, what they could do for a Part 2 LR, doing another Super Buu just doesn't really make sense to me. I think at this point it really doesn't make sense. Yes, it is, again, it's a thematic option. It is definitely a good option if you're trying to counter the EZA for Tekkon, which is going to be coming soon. But I just don't think that one makes the best sense from an overall standpoint given what they've done in the past. And then, as far as the last option here, I'm not going to waste too much time. Let me just go ahead and say it. LR Hercule. We need another LR Hercule. Okay. I don't believe we need them. I don't believe we actually do need another LR Hercule. Let me say that right now. Yes, we can get it, and I think it'll be great. But right now, again, Kid Buu I think is where we really, really need that LR to be. So that's where I feel is the direction we should go into, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention LR Hercule, right? LR Hercule, they've done it already, right? Technically, it's like Hercule and Buu, and I forget the puppy's name, but obviously we do see him there. But, they've already done this LR. They could do other LRs too of Hercule, right? Just doing him, with the Spear Bomb, or just making like a comical kind of LR, right? Like they've done with Bulma, where I wouldn't say Bulma is necessarily the craziest unit they could have chosen from Dragon Ball last year during their part 2 for Golden Week last year, but they did do an LR Bulma, right, with the Dragon Ball, so maybe they could do something funny like that and interesting like that, really, with an LR Hercule. Now, this is kind of similar to the Great Saiyaman idea, where LR Hercule, right? Technically, LR Hercule is not a part of Defender of Justice, right? Or in Special Pose, which is interesting, because if I recall correctly, Hercule does have a Special Pose, doesn't he? Or maybe I'm mistaken now, it's been a while since I've seen Hercule in action. But he is also technically an Earthling, he is also part of Majin Buu Saga, and again, that's another opportunity for them to give us that Videl EZA. I keep talking about it, but, this Videl EZA is something that a lot of people have been waiting for, and it is it has been over 3 years since Videl has dropped, so anytime now, Dokkan, drop, please, give us that EZA. I would love to have it, so I think that's another option. And I will admit, like, if I have to rank the 5 ideas I mentioned, right, between Kid Buu, between Super Buu, right, between an Ultimate Gohan, Hercule, and even the Great Saiyaman, and them, if I have to rank them in terms of marketability, it would have to start off with Kid Buu, because everyone has been waiting for an LR Kid Buu. Then it would probably be Ultimate Gohan, because Ultimate Gohan's a badass. Then it would probably be Super Buu, just because Super Buu is kind of keeping with the theme. I think people would appreciate that and kind of go for that if we saw it, and plus the animations would probably be kind of sick. And then it would probably be Hercule and the Great Saiyaman 1 and 2. No disrespect to Great Saiyaman, but Hercule I think is definitely just a bit more marketable, to say the least. He's just funny, he's a comic character, he's a comic relief, and it works, I think. So they could definitely do him as an LR, but again, of the 5 options, I gotta say, I think by a wide margin, it's gotta be, at this point, STR, not STR necessarily, but it has to be an LR Kid Buu, is what I mean to say, because, it's a long time coming. We do obviously have the Into Kid Buu right here, STR Kid Buu. We do have a Tech Kid Buu who does kind of awaken into this kind of, I don't want to say like chubby, but more like thick Buu, right? This is Buff Buu, right? I forgot what he was called. He's called Buff Buu. So we do have that Buff Buu, of course. We do have the AGL one here, and actually, I will say we also have the physical one. This actually is an opportunity for them to give us a Tech LR Kid Buu, and that would be actually very interesting. So, who knows? Maybe we do get Tech LR Kid Buu. If we do get a Tech LR Kid Buu in specifically that type and everything, I'm going to go crazy on socials, because this is going to be like an epic kind of call-out moment for me, right? But this, I think Kid Buu also, in terms of hype, the other opportunity is that it justifies maybe another Super EZA, right? Either for like the Kid Buu right here, the physical one, or maybe the Int one. There are some options that they could do for a Super EZA, so who knows? We'll have to see what they do. But again, that's just what my opinion is. But with that being all said, though, right? That's gonna do it for the vid, right? So of course, if you liked it, be sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe as well, so you can see more content like this going forward and support the channel and all that. That is something that I really, really do appreciate, and I can't express how much I appreciate it, guys. But really, thank you so much for any and all support you guys show. And also comment down below what you guys think is going to be the LR for part 2 for the Golden Week celebration, right? I'm curious to see, if you guys agree with my idea for Kid Buu being the LR for part 2. Maybe you like some of the other ideas I mentioned, or maybe you just have a completely unique idea altogether. I'm curious to see what you have to say about that, guys. So again, comment that down below. And otherwise, thank you guys for watching the video, and I'll see you all in the next one.